Welcome to the shit show. Things are going to get weird. It's your fave villain, Kail, and you're listening to Barely Famous. Welcome back to another episode of Barely Famous Podcast. Today we have Ashley Flowers. Welcome to Barely Famous.
Thank you.
And congratulations, published day for The Missing Half.
Yeah, finally.
So exciting. I know. Okay, you said it took you you wrote it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, the book's been done for like a year and a half.
Oh, so what was that waiting for?
Oh, man, publishing. It was like you have to find all the right times, right? So like the publishers need like a certain amount of time to like get it in bookstores, sell it. Then it was like by the time it was ready, it was going to be the election. It was like not ideal. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, we can wait till January, but then like who knows what was going to happen this January.
Yeah.
And so it just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So we landed on May 6th. Somehow it felt like it was never going to come, but here we are.
Yeah. No, it's perfect timing, I feel, because we're just coming off of spring break, but going into the summer, so people will have more time to read.
Beach read. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for.
Exactly. Okay, so what inspired The Missing Half?
So for me, I don't know how, it's always just like an idea that comes to me. Mm-hmm. So the same for my first book, All Good People Here. It will be whether it's a concept or one twist. And then for like my writing process is kind of built around that one thing. Okay. Which like I realized I had an event last night with Gillian Flynn, and I was listening to like her and like very legit authors talk about their process. And I was like, oh, that's not how I do it.
No, I've interviewed a lot of authors, and none of them have a similar process.
And that's what they said too. They were like,
none of them.
They're like, our biggest advice to people get so caught up in like, how do you do it? And taking the writing class and like taking the course and reading the book about writing. And they're like, the best thing you can do is just put pen to paper and start writing for yourself and figure out what your process is.
So do you just like carry a notebook around and write notes down all day, or do you sit down and you do deadlines and you create a schedule for yourself? So
my notes app is psychotic.
On your phone.
Oh yeah. It's psychotic. But I have like a list of ideas, and then the way that my actual process for this is, once I have the idea, I have a co-writer who's like one of my best friends now. Her name is Alex Keister, and her and I go away. We like lock ourselves in a cabin or in something for like 3 days. But we get the whole book plotted out. We know the beginning, the middle, the end, every twist in between. We know pretty much how every chapter is going to go. And then once we feel like we have the book, then we set deadlines for like, okay, we need the third of the book done by this time, second, and we should be completely done. Like, then we'll set deadlines for ourselves.
I don't know how you do it, because I'm just a fly by the seat of my pants person. So I think it would take me a year and a half to write a book.
I have too much going on to fly by the seat of my pants anymore.
I bet. Which I don't even know how you do it all. So did you always know that you wanted to write books?
No, I didn't know that I wanted to like tell stories for a living. My degree is in biomedical research. Yeah.
Which is so different from what you ended up doing.
Completely. Every time I always tell people like I kept reinventing myself, which is like also my greatest advice to someone is like, you're never stuck in what you're doing, and you get one life. It's like try new things. So I thought I wanted to go into medicine early on. And so I worked full-time at a hospital, was going to school for that. Thank God I worked full-time at a hospital, because I actually saw what that life was like. Not for me.
Okay, fair. I mean, but you wouldn't have known unless you did it.
I know.
Yeah.
And so then I went into research. I did genetics research. So I moved back home to Indiana and did genetics research at the University of Notre Dame. And I was putting spider DNA into silkworms. And then
what?
I know. Yeah.
What? Wait, what does that do? Are you like creating
spider thread is incredibly strong, but like the web tangles it so you can't use it. Silkworms like spin it in one thread, so they wanted the really strong thread, but like in a way that they could like use it for, I think they use it for like Kevlar vests, all these like crazy things you wouldn't think of.
So it was like a hybrid?
Yeah. So I did that. Spider-Man stuff. I did that. And then after that, I went into a very small 6-person startup company selling a device that disinfected medical, like hospital rooms. Right. And then after that, when I was done with that, I was like, you know what? Like, time to reinvent myself again. Medical sales, not for me. And I Googled companies that let you bring your dog to work. And
like, you Googled that?
Yeah, in Indianapolis, like companies in Indianapolis where I can bring my beloved dog to work.
I love this so much.
And I found this software company. They're a custom software company. So I went and did business development for them. And it was when I was working with them that I started the podcast. So there was like a year overlap where I was doing both. Okay. And like growing up, I just like, I never thought I was a creative person, but I don't think I allowed myself to be. I didn't think there was a future or a viable future.
Right.
I think my parents were just very practical. We grew up very poor, and it was like, you got to find, like, you got a good career, something that's going to be like stable, something you can, like, no matter where you go, you can get a job. Well, looking back though, like, it was right in front of me. Like, I have video after video where I wrote a mystery story and made my sister and my cousin were like all acting it out, and I'm directing it. I even like inserted commercials because apparently back then I knew you had to pay for it somehow.
Some way we were going to fund it.
Yeah. So like all the signs were there, and it wasn't, until I fell in love with podcasting.
But what made you take the leap into podcasting, right? Because you started Crime Junkies around the same time I started my first show in 2017. And I'll be honest with you, I only did it because my co-host asked me. She reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to start a podcast? And everything that I learned about in, going to school for radio, TV, and film was like, there's no money in podcasting. This isn't going anywhere. And so I was just like, I'll do it for her. But I didn't actually want to do it. So like, what made you even want to get into podcasting?
So my best friend Brit, who I do Crime Junkie with, she had been trying to get me to listen to podcasts for years. She was like early, like 2010s onto podcasting.
Oh, one of the early birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I drove a ton for work, I audiobooks out the wazoo. And she would tell me about podcasts, and I was like, that sounds terrible. Yeah. I'm not going to listen to one of those.
Same. That's where I was.
And she got me with Serial. So in 2014, I got obsessed with Serial.
Okay.
And then I was looking for anything and everything. I was listening to all of it, the good, the bad, the in between, but like all crime stuff, because that's what I'm into. And there just was not the format I was looking for. There just wasn't enough good content back then. And so I spent a few years just kind of learning the space and like what's working, what's not working, what do people respond to, what does it seem like they like, and B, kind of just waiting for someone else to make the show I wanted to hear. Okay. And then I finally got to a point where I was seeing that there was no barrier to entry into podcasts. Like anyone could do it, and why not try to make the show that I as a listener want to hear, which has kind of been my premise for so much of Crime Junkie, and like the community it's me. Like, I know what I want. I know what I was looking for. And it's how I've decided even to go into like books, into publishing. Like everyone initially was like, we just want a true crime book from you, Ashley. Like,
well, it makes sense.
Right. And I was like, no, you're like not understanding. You're like putting my listeners in a box. Like they're not just into true crime. I'm a crime junkie and I love fiction novels. Right. And I think that my community like are looking for different ways for us to show up in different places.
100%. And you've been doing a press tour. So what's that been like?
It's been wild because I'm on tour for Crime Junkie right now. And as the book came out, so like Friday we did Radio City Music Hall, and then, which was wild. And then I like had to go to Boston and did Boston. Then I came right back to New York, and then it was like the Today Show, and then an event with Gillian Flynn.
I thought you were on a press tour for your book.
I am now.
Okay, so
but I'm also on tour for Crime Junkie.
Okay, so people can go see Crime Junkie live?
I've got 2 more shows left. So
why did I not know this?
I don't know.
It's so weird because like on social media, I'll have like, we did tour last year, and they're like, how did I not know you were coming to my city? And it's like the algorithm, if you don't see it, you don't see it, and you completely miss it.
And what's wild to me too, and this is like, we're going on a social media tangent. We've been studying a lot the way that like the algorithm is changing things. It's like it doesn't matter if you even follow the person.
You won't see it.
Why though?
I would not have known.
I want to know. Like I'm following this person for a reason, and I feel like the algorithm overrides even like what you're subscribed to or what you're following.
I literally thought it was for the book tour only.
No, yeah, we're on crime. I got 2 shows left. I've got one in Phoenix, and we go out with a bang in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's so exciting!
Yeah,
and I've heard it's fun to go to Las Vegas right in the spring. So it's like right before it gets too hot.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the desert. It'll be hot.
It'll be hot. I guess it'll be hot regardless. So when you first started Crime Junkies, did you then? So Brit wanted you to listen to podcasts. Yeah. So did you go to her and you're like, all right, let's do this, or you kind of just came to the idea together and we're like, we're gonna podcast?
I really wanted to start the show, and to me, it only made my idea of the show I wanted was 2 people, really, where one person was telling the story and the other person was kind of the representation of the whole audience that was listening. Okay. And it really was what Brit and I's friendship is like, where like I would come to her and just tell her these stories I would find. We'd have a conversation about it. And I never, it's not like I auditioned Friends. Like it never occurred to me it would be anyone else just because that was the natural dynamic Brit and I had.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, she was like, she was so down for it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then when you decided you were going to write books, did you just go to her and say, I think I'm going to write a book?
I don't even know that I went to her. I think I went to her like afterwards and I was like, I have a book. Will you read it?
She's like, can you be my beta reader?
Yeah.
I love that. What did she think? What was the reaction that you got, I guess, for both books?
She loved it. I leaned on her pretty heavy before the book was done on the first one because I set the first book in Wakarusa, Indiana, which is close to where I live, but it is the town Brit grew up on. So like I was imagining like her farmhouse when I was writing so much of it. And so I had her just read it to be like, okay, make sure I didn't mess anything up. Does it feel really authentic to you who grew up in Wakarusa? So I leaned on her hard for that.
And you guys grew up together. You were childhood friends. Is that right?
We were born on the exact same day.
Shut up.
And we have been best friends for 36 years.
Are you kidding me?
No.
How did you meet then? And your parents met in the hospital or what?
Our moms were best friends. So we grew up in this like very insular cult-like church.
Okay.
So our moms were best friends and her parents had been trying to get pregnant for a really long time, 11 years. And they finally decided they wanted to explore adoption and had like done all their paperwork and stuff. And at the same time, my mom had gotten pregnant. And so Brit's mom came to visit my mom in the hospital when she had me. And she's like, it was a very bittersweet feeling. Like I was really excited for my friend, but at the same time, really sad that this was something that I couldn't have that I wanted so bad. And my mom told her, she's like, well, for all you know, your baby could be being born right now. Like, right. She's looking at adoption. And then a couple of months later, they got Brit and found out she was born the exact same day.
How crazy is that?
We've never known a life without each other.
I love that. Would you ever write a book with her?
It's so funny. There was this one case that like pre-crime junkie over margaritas and chips and salsa one time, we're like, we should make this a book. So there's like definitely bullet points somewhere, but I don't know. Her and I work very differently too. I don't know
really?
I don't know what like getting through a whole book would like look like with the two of us.
That might be fun.
She's like the spreadsheet queen. She'll keep me organized for sure.
I think that's my dynamic also when I show up to podcasts. My co-hosts always have topics and I just show up. It's like I'll ad lib off of whatever you're saying because I don't have enough original thoughts, apparently. Okay, let's talk about Rocket Money for a second because I'm obsessed with it. This is how I was able to save for my ingrown pool, but also the first time I ever logged into Rocket Money, I canceled 8 subscriptions right off the bat because I forgot about them. I either wasn't using them or I forgot about a free trial and I didn't cancel. But you guys can sign up for an account with Rocket Money and choose $0 when given the option for how much to pay. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. And you can see all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. So into the new year this year, I was like, I want to make sure that I'm cutting back on spending where it's unnecessary. And that's essentially what Rocket Money does. For those of you who don't know and don't want any of those subscriptions, they will find them and cancel them for you. So Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts, and you can easily create a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep track of your spending, see where your monthly spending trends in each category so you know exactly where it's going and where you can cut back. You can also get alerts if bills increase in price and there's unusual activity, or if you guys are just going over budget, you guys can track all of that through Rocket Money. The new goals feature automatically saves money for you, so you don't even have to think about that. So it'll help pay off bills, put away money for a house, or just build your savings in general. But Rocket Money makes it so easy. Rocket Money actually has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/famous today. That's rocketmoney.com/famous. rocketmoney.com/famous. Okay, so was there any point during this writing process for The Missing Half that you were like, this is it, this is going to be the book?
I mean, I don't feel like I am a creative enough person to like figure it out as I go. I would not have started writing it if I didn't think it was the book.
Okay. So you already knew before you even started.
Yeah. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, once I have that idea, I'm like, this idea or the couple of points I have are like, great enough that I know this will be a banger.
For sure.
If I can figure the other pieces out. And for this one, I felt like I had the beginning, a couple twists, and the end. And I was like, as long as I make it all make sense together, it's going to like surprise people. It's going to be a really fun ride for Crime Junkies.
Okay. I literally have no idea how you do it because you talk about crime cases on your podcast and now you're writing about it. Do you ever like feel like it's heavy or like for your mental health? You're like, okay, I've had enough for a minute.
No.
Really?
No. Like, and I always say some people I think are just built to live in this world.
Yeah.
I think it's why you can be like in the FBI or working like crimes against children. Like some people can just operate in a darker space. So I think I'm built for it. Like it's all I consume. I mean, every once in a while, like I'll pop over to a reality show for sure. Like, yes, I was on like Temptation Island immediately. Like, but it's not as dark, I think, for me as many people find it because of the work we're doing. So if I was just consuming, talking about it, about how terrible the world was, about all the bad people and all the way things could go wrong and stop the end, like, yes, that would get very heavy. But we started with this very like mission focused, from day one of wanting to really like change the way true crime is consumed, the way people interact with the community, engage with the content, create the content. And we've done a ton of advocacy work, worked with a ton of families and law enforcement. And so in a way, it's like by talking about it, I feel like we're making the world better. And I have this sense of like, okay, if we weren't here doing this, like who would be? And I think without the other end of that, it would get really heavy. But since I've had that since the beginning, even when I was just a consumer before I started the podcast, I felt heavy about just consuming it all. So I started volunteering with my local Crime Stoppers. I was on their board of directors. It was kind of like that was like the other half of what led me into podcasting, because they were looking for ways to get the word out about their program. It was like, I was the youngest person on the board by far. And so they're like, everyone thinks we're this like Smokey the Bear or Scruff McGruff dog.
Yeah.
Like we need to advertise. And so if you listen to like our first couple of episodes are like baked in ads for Crime Stoppers.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, that makes sense to me, but I still find it so fascinating that so many of us, myself included, are so fascinated by true crime because what about it? What is the morbid curiosity that we all have?
I mean, I think we all like looking into like the darker parts of humanity. I think it says a lot about who we are as a person, as a community, as a society. So like getting a peek, when people feel like they can get a peek at that from a distance. Right? I feel like it's why people like watching like reality TV too. They want to see like other people's lives be messy.
But why? You know what I mean?
Because I think it makes them feel like theirs isn't so bad. And I think a lot of people have very heavy trauma. I mean, I think the statistics are like 1 in 4 women experience sexual abuse in their life. Like I think very heavy things happen, and there is this like a little bit of like, well, it could be worse, or like at least that didn't happen to me. So I think there's a piece of that. I think there's a piece of our human nature just wants to make sense of things that don't make sense, and like we're constantly trying to solve things, to bring order to things. So we're wanting to solve the mysteries. And then I think for a subset of our listeners, and particularly women, many of the crimes are happening to women. And I know when I used to listen, what I was listening for was like, or watching for, whatever I was consuming, is like, what went wrong? Like, how did that happen? What could have happened differently? Like, how do I learn something, take something from this to not put myself in a scenario? And we do a ton of like education on the show that people, we get emails all the time from people that were like, if I had not heard X, Y, and Z, like in this, like this situation happened to me, I think it would have ended very differently. How
do you think people who listen to Crime Junkies or read your books can change the way that they're consuming the true crime? Because obviously we're not going to stop consuming it.
Right.
But how can we help, I guess? I know you talked about Crime Stoppers and things like that, but
I think there's a lot of ways. I think at the very basic way, it's making sure you're consuming something that you feel good about. Is what you're consuming was that created strictly for sensational purposes? Is there a higher mission? Like how does the family feel about what's being created? I mean, I think there are a lot of questions to ask, and each person needs to decide what's important to them. But I mean, truly just like the choice you make in hitting play is funding ad dollars, is telling studios and industries what to make more or less of. So I think that there is power just in that. And then there are tons of ways for people to get involved in a deeper level. I mean, we do a ton of call to actions at the end of our episodes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's sign the petition, write the letter to the Attorney General. And then there's tons of ways the way I got involved with Crime Stoppers. I mean, there's a ton of nonprofits nationally, locally for people to get involved in. And so it's really up to each individual person in what they want to do. But I mean, truly just the way what you hit play on is changing consumer behavior as well.
I agree. I think Crime Junkies is the only true crime podcast I've heard have a call to action at the end, but I don't know.
There are definitely others.
I'm sure there are. Not off the top of my head that I can think of. So I think that's really cool that you guys do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think sets this book apart from, other books in the same genre?
It really is like all of my know-how behind it. So I think I really paid attention to a couple of things when I was writing this book. Like the same way Crime Junkie, the show, was made for me and listeners like me, I wrote this book for readers like me. I am the reader who, like, chapter 2 or 3, I'm like guessing based on like the order in which people are introduced. Like, all right, you're sus, like you're here. I think this twist is coming. I know, like, oh well, this can't, like, I know every twist coming. I can guess the ending like 99% of the time. And so I really wanted to surprise even those people that felt like they've read it all, seen it all, done it all.
Yeah.
And I think having the knowledge that I do, like, I mean, I've told 700 crime stories at this point, something close to that. I've consumed even more. I know what makes a great twist. Like, in all of that content, I know what has stood out to me after all these years. And so incorporating those pieces, I feel like you get like the best of the best. And it's so realistic too. Like I painstakingly made sure that this book felt like it could happen. Like there's no cheats to anything. Like it's grounded in reality. Even the relationships between victims and law enforcement, victims and each other, and victims in the media. I've seen those conversations and those relationships play out. And so I wanted it to feel, even though people will know it's fiction, it feels like it's rooted in reality.
And I appreciate that. As a fiction girly, just overall, I don't love thrillers that have such far-fetched theories and like twists. I'm like, okay, now this isn't for me.
Or like, are we like, it's like we're venturing into sci-fi.
Yeah, like this isn't for me. And so I do appreciate the realistic, grounded in reality, honestly. But so when you are covering cases on Crime Junkies, but then also with your novels, like how does your brain work? Do you feel like you can solve some of these like unsolved mysteries? Because I feel like when you have that type of brain that you're like, this is it.
Well, I think every crime junkie does. I think like our anthem is probably like, get me alone in a room with that case file and I will be the one to solve it.
There are a couple cases though that I just don't think that I obviously have my own theory, but not one that I'm like, okay, this is what happened.
For sure. I agree. I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I think I could solve it given the right power and resources. Like if I were the one who could order the DNA testing or go actually interview the person. But I don't know that is any that are unsolved that I'm like, oh, without a doubt, I know. No.
Not even JonBenét Ramsey?
I do not know anything without a doubt in that case.
Really?
Dude.
I thought maybe you had it figured out. Like you would be the one to figure it out.
Listen, I'm still trying. Just because our episode is done does not mean
that you haven't stopped thinking about it.
It does not mean I didn't have a meeting a week ago to talk about this case with our legal counsel.
I think everyone was really impressed and also really excited that you got to interview John Ramsey.
In his home.
What was that like to interview him in his home?
It was weird.
Did you get any eerie feelings?
Yeah, but like how much of that is me and how much, like it was just, I think, a strange sensation overall. I mean, because truly, I mean, they've got this, what they call their grandkid room. And I mean, JonBenét's not a grandkid, but like she's always 6 forever. And there's literally like her boots and her tap shoes and like to be in that, like the last page she colored at Jay's restaurant, like framed on the wall, like to be in that room was just very, very strange. To hear him talk about her in person is really strange.
Because he's so far removed from her as his daughter, it almost feels like she's a granddaughter, I think I read online.
I don't know that it's like, I don't think that's what it is. I mean, like at some point I don't think she feels like a granddaughter to him. She just never got to grow up. Like they only have 6 years of memories. But it was like, it was like we traveled out there and I thought it was a great interview. I got to ask him some tough questions that I didn't really get answers to. But it was also interesting to hear him say like verbatim, like word for word, the stuff I had just read in like a 1996 transcript. So, I mean, Did your feelings change compared with what you thought before you interviewed him? No. I think my feelings changed as I started really digging into the case. But the more I dug and dug and dug, I still don't know what I would be lying if I said I know what happened in that
I don't think
house.
he did it. That's just my thoughts. I won't put you on the spot and ask you what yours are because if you have meetings about it, I don't want to like jeopardize whatever you have going on, but I don't think he did it. He might know what happened, but I don't think he did it. Those are my thoughts on it.
I truly don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I truly have no idea what happened. But I still think that something happened in the house that nobody wants to talk about.
I do too. That's exactly what I think. But I don't think it was him. I don't know. It's so
literally
weird.
Nothing makes sense in this case. And like you can file forever. Like I could talk about the note for like the next 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, same. What was your favorite part about writing The Missing Half? And also what was your favorite part about writing All Good People Here?
I think the fact that it was all fiction was such a nice break because I got to still play in the world of mystery and twists and like all the things I love about like trying to solve a case, but with the stakes being absolutely as low as they can be. Like there's no real family on the other side of this. Mm-hmm. There's no investigation to like hurt. Like I just got to have fun without a lot of the pressure of a true crime case. Yeah. And it was like, that's what I enjoyed the most.
Is there anything that you would pull from real life cases that you've talked about on the podcast and would say, okay, that could make sense in a story? Obviously not, exact things, but just you're like, okay, well, that's a really twisty piece of this case that could work in a book.
Yes. And I would say like I don't really go into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to put this from this case. Right. But they all stay with me enough that I look back and I'm like, I can look at some of the twists and be like, oh, that reminds me of
this case.
Yeah. Okay. Like I was talking at the Gillian Flynn event last night. There is part of like the theme of this book is the idea that when someone goes missing, especially at a young age, you really get like a snapshot of their life. And that 19-year-old, people will infer everything about you, about like who you were at 19. And because you didn't have the chance to grow up. And like, we were all a fucking hot mess when we were 19. And one of the pieces, it talks about how people are picking her apart. Like she stole this nail polish or something from a store. And it did remind me of the Maura Murray case. She went missing when she was 21. And after she went missing, like people just ripped her apart online. I mean, they were calling her a psychopath. They were like, diagnosing her with like mental illnesses based on things like she stole a lipstick or she.
As if that gives any. What does that have to do with her going missing, right? Like, is she less of a human?
Well, they're saying like, oh, it all played into who she was, and maybe she had more secrets, and maybe like so. I see that happen over and over again where people just feel like they can look at this much of someone's life and like know who they are. And it's just wild to me. So like I'll pick out like little things like that in the rear view. And like in this one too, I don't want to spoil it, but there is one piece of this story that looking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, I know I've heard a story like this before, but now I, for the life of me, can't find what the real story is. It's one I know we never covered, but like it's killing me now.
Do you feel like you also being in the spotlight, you have audiochuck, you're an author now, you have the podcast, you're a mom, like you're doing all of these things. Do you feel like people also pick you apart and feel like they know you based on however much you show.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't really read a lot of the internet to know what it is they're saying about me.
That makes one of us.
Really? Do you read all the comments and stuff?
It's bad.
How?
I don't know. I'm getting better at it. Like I have like a team that helps me, but
You also kind of like grew up in it, which has to be a lot harder.
Yeah, I feel it. And to your point, like I feel like I'm still stuck at 17. Like I feel like people still hold on to who I was when I was 17, 18, 19. You know
Which is bananas. Like,
so weird.
Thank God people didn't know who I was at 19. Like if they only looked at that or I went missing, like I would never have the chance to grow up and be like, oh, successful Ashley Flowers.
Yeah.
Girl, I was like a hot mess trying to figure it out watching Teen Mom. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Did you watch Teen Mom?
Obviously.
It's so weird because I'm like, I guess I don't put myself on that same level. So anytime like you or, you know, I had Carly Fortune in here earlier, like for them to know who I am feels so weird because I still feel like I'm 17 and like just not real. I don't know.
I feel the same way. Like when I go and meet, I'm always like, I'm not going to bother anyone. Like, but I don't fucking,
People probably freak out.
I don't know, man. I'm like, it's just me. Like, I don't give a,
yeah.
Like, so
no, I get that.
I definitely have imposter syndrome.
Same. Well, did you have imposter syndrome for this book, or you were like, it had been so much time since you wrote it that you're like, I'm ready for it to get out?
Oh, I'm ready for it to get out. I think I always do a little bit, but I think this is the really like essential part that I'm grateful for is that a lot of my success didn't come until I was like 30. Mm-hmm. And so I had time to like really figure out who I was and like what was important to me and whose opinions I valued and whose opinions actually like would change me and my life and all of that. And so I do have usually this sense like I want people to love because I'm making it for them. I want them to love it. But if people hate it, it's not like it won't kill me. No one's going to hate it. I know. I'm pretty confident in it. I'm pretty confident in it.
You said, I know. How do you separate? Yeah, I kind of touched on this a little bit already, but how do you separate the emotional, like your reality with all of the heavy cases? How do you separate them? You just do? Like, do you go home to your family and you're a mom and you don't talk about crime cases?
Not to my daughter. She's only 3 right now. But like I talk about it to my husband.
Yeah.
This is what I do for like at work. And so like if I'm not talking to him about the case file that I'm like reading in bed at night, because this is what I enjoy. Like it's like going home and talking to your spouse about what you did at work.
Is he as obsessed as you are? Because I think
no.
Men aren't. What is that?
Or at least not. I mean, some of them are into it. Like I know we have male fans and not creepy ones. So far so good.
I feel like I've never met a man that is as invested in true crime as I am. Like I fall asleep to the ID channel.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Same. They're very rare. Yeah. My husband, he's like, well, and it's not even like he doesn't like it. It terrifies him. I can't watch Law & Order SVU. And I'm like, boo, that's like, it's so fake.
You should make a cameo on SVU.
You know how hard I'm trying?
You absolutely should.
I have been telling everyone it's like on my life's bucket list. Which one is your agent? Neither.
Oh,
they're not here.
We need to get her on there.
I've been telling them forever. I was like, let me play the dead body, if nothing else.
Something. A barista? Anything.
I know.
That would be so cool. If you could be on any...
The guy who's just like, she's just like stacking shit. Doesn't matter if they're like there asking about a murder. She's like still got to do her job. Like, I'll be that lady. Yeah.
Or even just like act in a series or something. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
People love a good crossover.
I want to do when the book is TV or film or something like that. That's the goal is to do like a...
Is it optioned?
No, but it
will be.
I'm manifesting.
Have you had calls about All Good People here?
Yeah. And I just want to make sure it's really hard to like give up your baby to someone.
I've heard that.
And let them do with it what they will.
Well, because I think, at least from what I've heard, they have to like, I don't know how many pages All Good People is here or All Good People here is. Thank you. Yes. I don't know how many pages that is, but what I've heard is they have to like cut it down, like basically cut it in half to make it into a TV, like a movie script. And so it's really hard when you've worked so hard on this baby and then they have to cut it and change it to make it fit into, 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
I can imagine that would be really hard to
it's the cutting. When I had some initial conversations and they wanted to change like major plot lines. And I was just like, but then it
changes everything.
I know, like, just go write another story. Why? Why do you even want mine?
But you have high hopes for this one to be on the big screen?
Yeah, this one doesn't involve children. Children was also the issue with All Good People here. People are a little wary.
Sensitive.
This one I think is like an easier sell. So I think this is ripe for a limited series or short film or something.
Okay, so dream cast. Do you have one?
I think that I haven't thought about all of the characters, but I think that for Nick, I really loved Anna Kendrick when in the latest show she did on Netflix about the dating game killer. She's done like a really good like dark character, and I don't know, like I could see her being Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else that you've thought of?
Not really for this one. I spent so much time thinking of all good people here. I'm like always vying for Merritt Weaver. She's incredible. I have to like specifically though write an older character for her in my next book because she was in like Nurse Jackie. She was in Unbelievable on Netflix. She does, so oftentimes she's like the sidekick character. Like she was, for a lot of people who watch Severance, she was in Severance. Oh, she's so good.
So those two people, would you want a limited series or like a movie?
I think for All Good People Here, a limited series.
Okay.
I think for The Missing Half, a movie.
That would be so cool. And you'd have to get an EP credit.
I'm
just,
like
thinking
I
for
am
you.
this close to writing it myself.
You should. Why wouldn't you?
Sure, I'll just like, give me a long weekend and I'll write a movie script.
Do you have plans for a third book?
I have not had my writing retreat yet or set deadlines.
Okay.
However, I do have the one idea to build it all around that has been like sitting with me for probably the last year. And so I'm like at the point now where I'm like starting to itch. I need to like get it out.
Before it just completely goes out of your head.
Yeah.
And do you just put it in your notes app?
Put it in my notes app. I've told my co-writer Alex about it. I told my agent about it last night. She gave her goosies. So I know it's a good one.
I love that. You always know when you have a good feeling, right? What do you hope people take away after reading The Missing Half?
I think some of the stuff we talked about where in the first book, one of the big things that I wanted is just this sense of like, hey, you never know what's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And for this one, a little bit of it is that sense of like, you cannot look at the week, the month, the year leading up to some event and pretend like you know that victim or the way you're going to talk about that victim or like you know them or their family or their circumstances. There are just layers and layers and layers. And I mean, it ties back to the first. You don't know what's happening in their life, in their family, or who they would have become had they had the time to grow up and make choices, or even if they're older, make different choices. So it's a little bit of that, like, can we just give people the benefit of the doubt? Can we not assume the internet? I just like the way that we feel like we can talk about people we don't know is just wild to me.
Yeah, I don't know how we get the audacity, to be honest.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you have a case or cases that have stuck with you since 2017 or even before that, before you started Crime Junkies?
All of them.
All of them?
I have, like, truly, it's my superpower. Like, I could retell you a story that I told a year and a half ago. Like, the details of cases are just, like, locked in my brain. But there are a few that are just, like, so wild that if I'm ever, like, talking to someone about it, they, like, come up over and over again. Like, there's a case of this guy named Robert Wan who in D.C. was murdered. And he was like in town for work. He like took the train in. He ended up having to work late. So he doesn't go back home. He just stays with friends in the city. His wife and his family are home. And he gets in his jammies. He goes to bed. And he is found with a knife like in his heart. Like he's been stabbed. There's like no blood. The people in the home, like no one broke in. They swear that someone had to have broken in. But like they're acting super weird. It feels like they showered before police got there. It is bizarre, beyond bizarre, and like no one can explain it. And so it's like it's those where they're obviously always the unsolved ones that I get obsessed with. Maura Murray will be like forever what the internet talks about, and I'm right there with them, wanting to know what happened.
How long do you study or research a case before you talk about it on your podcast?
I think it depends. So if for like the weekly show, we have a team now of reporters. So they're out like all over the country going in, interviewing family, detectives. If it's something for like our weekly show, Usually there's at least a few weeks that go into it, if not longer, because a lot of times we're just juggling a ton of stuff at once and things come together slowly. You have to file FOIA requests. You have to line up interviews and you're like doing multiple at a single time. But then there are others where we do like, I have a limited series called The Deck Investigates, and me and a reporter spent 8 months like working on this nonstop. And we got our like 10 episode series or whatever. So it really varies. It's kind of all over the map.
That's incredible.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of work. A lot of people go into it too now.
And so then for one episode, you have put months and months or weeks together to do one episode, but then the next week you have to have an episode to air.
Yes, ma'am. I was telling Brit the other day, I was like, I feel like that like old, I don't know if it's a Sesame Street song where it's like, this is the job that never ends.
No, because I've stressed out about just regular recordings and we're just bullshitting our way through the episodes. And I'm like, do we have enough topics for next week? And you're over here investigating like lengthy cases.
It's wild. But then again, like this is why we have in early days when we started, I mean, it was just me. And so I had to do everything in a week. Like that's just how it was. But as we've gotten more resources, more, whether it's, money, people, whatever, it's part of the responsibility. I feel like, hey, like the show has grown. I have more. I have to do more with what I have.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that we were doing a ton of original reporting, that we were making an effort to cover cases that weren't getting coverage everywhere else. And so it started with like, 4 years ago, I hired 2 reporters. I was like, one for The Deck and one for Crime Junkie. And now, I mean, all of audiochuck is 80 people and huge.
80 people?
80 people.
Did you ever envision this is where you would be, or did you dream big from the beginning?
I absolutely did not think this is what I was going to be
80
doing.
people?
I never started as like a hobby. Like I did give myself 1 year. I was like, this has to be a job because I knew how much time I was going to pour into it. But I, at the 1 year mark, I was like, if I can't quit my full-time job, I have to quit the podcast. And like right at the 1 year mark, I made it. But I also, when I left the job I was at, there were like a couple of things I saw. I mean, I saw that like employees were always like, it was like the HR of everything. I saw it weigh on the owner of the business. I was like, oh, HR, no, not for me. And then I saw how much I hated Slack.
We use Slack. I don't use Slack. The team uses Slack.
Yeah. It drives me bonkers. And so I was like so cocky when I left. I was like, and I love Bob. He actually works for me now, who's the owner of the company. But I was like, I was so cocky. I was like, Bob, I'm never going to have like employees. It's just going to be like me and Brit and my brother, and I'm never going to have Slack. And now we've got 80 employees and like 400 Slack channels.
And you're like, I can't live without Slack.
Yeah.
It's like the AIM of today, like work.
I have been telling everyone that AOL is missing a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
If they made an AIM for business, do you know how quickly us millennial business owners would?
Do you know what AIM is, Lissa? Do you? Okay, they're in their 20s, so I didn't know if they knew.
I never used it.
I wish they would bring that back, and sidekicks, because the sidekicks for AIM business,
so
that would be absolutely
I know.
incredible.
I'm like, I don't know who at AOL I need to talk to, but AIM for business is my $1 million idea.
Yeah, no, truly. I'll just be the assistant, the coffee runner while you have that meeting, but that is so funny. 80 employees is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are.
Mm-hmm.
With books and audiochuck and Crime Junkie, and how do you do it all? How do you balance being a mom and this?
I mean, like I'm trying. I hopefully it goes well. I like the proof's in the pudding, and she's not grown up yet. But I think I'm doing a good job. I tell people like my version of having it all, like that's just had to change. Like what I wanted to have it all in business is completely different. Like having it all and like mom, like if I'm going to keep the business going, and you make sacrifices both places. I have to say no to business things to spend quality time with my daughter. And I've had to skip out on things that like my daughter's doing because I've got work commitments, but I'm like, and in trying to do it, I mean, it makes me tired. I am gone because I'm touring for Crime Junkie and the book. I was gone for a whole week. So she's in New York City with me right now. And like in between meetings when normally I would like take a break, I'm having to attend, but it's so cute because she's like, she got to go see me just say hi on stage every other city. And so now her new favorite thing is she'll like find something that's like a stage. She was on the toilet seat today and she like takes her little hair and then she's like, hi, Crime Junkies.
Oh my God.
And we have to scream for her and it's freaking beautiful.
I love that. I just had my first daughter, so I'll be curious to see how she gets to be when she's around that age.
So fucking spicy.
Oh, she's spicy now, and she's 18 months old, and she's a twin with a boy. So the boy is like super cool, calm, and collected, but she's spicy. So when you're saying like she's on stage and like,
oh yeah,
but, like that's my dream for my daughter, is for her to like have a fun personality and like be fun. So
yeah,
I mean, I'll accept her no matter how she is, but it would be fun to have one that is really
a big personality.
Yeah.
It really is fun. And like, I forget because sometimes I watch her with other kids and I'm like, oh, other kids are kind of boring. Because Josie,
so real.
She's just so like, she's on the carousel with her face painted like a tiger, singing as she like goes around.
Life. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that. Do you think she'll take over Crime Junkies when you're done?
I think she's gonna try.
That would be amazing.
But I think she likes the limelight of it too much.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
That's like all the red flags in true crime. Like if you're doing this for the limelight, you're in it for the wrong reasons. The recording, the performing is like my least favorite part of all of it.
Like on stage, you mean?
On stage, even like in the podcast, like having to like figuring out the story and doing the reporting and like all of that, like that is where I find so much joy and like getting it to the finished product. But then we have to record it.
And you don't like that part?
I'm good at it. I know what I'm good at, but it's not my favorite part. No.
We were talking about it before you guys came in here that your voice is meant for like podcasting, radio, and stuff.
Never like in a million years thought that, but thank you.
Do you edit your own stuff or does someone else edit? Because I cannot hear my own voice. I don't want to hear my own voice.
No.
When I say it on the podcast, that is the first and last time I'm saying it and hearing it.
I had to edit like a few episodes early on.
What do you think the turning point in your success was? Like when you said you gave yourself 1 year and you sort of hit it at that 1 year mark. For people who are trying to break into the podcasting space or the writing space and want to be an author, like what would you suggest? How do you think that Crime Junkies really hit the ground running?
I mean, for me, it was a lot of like I was doing my own like on the ground marketing. I had, like I said, I kind of studied what other podcasts were doing and not just like in their content, but I was like watching the way that they were cross promoting with other shows and how they were getting the word out. And I really knew who my listener was. Okay. Like I had that dialed in. And so I felt like when I had a little bit of my own money to do marketing, like if I had nothing, but I had to go find them, like I knew where to find them. Okay. Because I knew who they were. I think if you go out and it's like marketing 101, but if you go out and you're like, well, my show's for everybody. Okay. Well, maybe someday, I hope for you, but like, who are you trying to talk to today? And if you could get 100 listeners, readers, like who is it for? And the more you know that, the more you can lean into it. Okay. I think that really helps. But I was doing everything, man. I was like, I bought car magnets and would just like everywhere I would drive, I'd like drive around with like the Crime Junkie podcast on my car, just like let people know it was a thing. Yeah. I bought these little stickers, and every time I would go to a bar or a rest stop, like I'm like, I know who's my audience is, these like women. I'm like putting them all over women's restrooms. I'm like leaving the cards smart. Everywhere. So, I mean, I was like doing boots on the ground stuff myself.
Because you sign other shows to audiochuck, right? Mm-hmm. So do you help them also break into the space, or is it like people that like, are you helping them develop, or is it already established shows?
We've done both. Okay. And so, but a lot of like what people come to us for, if we want to bring a show in the network, is that what we have built up is this network. And now, I mean, discoverability in podcasting is so hard. And one of the most effective ways to get people to listen is to advertise on other podcasts where the audience is. And so having that built-in audience where we're now getting 10 million people to show up every week. If we can tell those 10 million people to go listen to something else, right? It's like we've got our own like built-in marketing machine now.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I have one of my best friends is trying to break into the podcasting space, so I hope that she listens to this and that helps her.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And where can people find The Missing Half, All Good People Here? Tell us where to find you, Crime Junkies, and audiochuck.
Yeah, so Crime Junkie Podcast on Instagram. I am Ashley Flowers on Instagram, Ashley Flowers Crime Junkie on TikTok, and both of my books are now officially available wherever books are sold. I will say that for those who read the first book, there is a Target exclusive book that has a bonus chapter that actually does tie back to the end of All Good People Here, and it kind of brings the universes together, and it gives people more answers to the end of All Good People Here.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on Barely Famous.
Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Yes.